Orcas Public Library again, and this week, instead of one book, I have two books for you this week, and they're good ones. So I hope you're going to enjoy them. We are going to read Tidy. And Tidy is a book that's written by Emily Gravett, and it's a lot of fun, and I hope you're going to like it. First, we open it up and look at that. I love books that are like that, don't you? And when we look at it, we see that actually it was published by Simon & Schuster Books for young readers. So we will thank them for letting us read it in quarantine. Yes, good job. Let's open it up. Deep in the forest lived a badger named Pete, who tidied and cleaned and kept everything neat. He tidied the flowers by checking each patch and snipping off any that didn't quite match. He tidied the fox by grooming his fur. He untangled each knot and each twig and each burr. He tidied the birds from the big to the small by brushing their beaks and then bathing them all. He picked up each stray sticks. He swept and he rubbed. He polished the rocks and he scoured and scrubbed. Tidy Pete. So when a leaf fell, well, no. Oh. Pete tidied up. But still he wasn't happy. Now the trees looked bare and scrappy. And so to make it all look neat, Pete undertook a mighty feat. He dug up every single tree and then it rained. There was a flood. And afterward, a lot of mud. Pete called in the diggers. He called in the mixers. He called in the concrete, the rakers, the fixers. No mud, no leaves, no mess, no trees. Perfectly tidy and perfectly neat. This forest is practically perfect, said Pete. I'm hungry, he thought. I deserve a treat. So he hunted around for something to eat. But the beetles and worms that he usually found were under the concrete, deep in the ground. And so Pete decided to go home instead. If he couldn't have dinner, he'd go straight to bed. But when he arrived and took out his key, there wasn't a door where the door used to be. No. And later that night, Pete tossed and he turned. His belly was empty. It rumbled and churned. And as he lay in his mixer wide awake, he started to think, I have made a mistake. So, the very next morning when it got light, he set about trying to put everything right. Then the animals came from the strong to the weak, and they lent him a paw or a claw or a beak. And they put everything back as it always had been, but maybe less ordered and not quite as clean. And Pete, well, he promised to tidy up less, but if he succeeded, it's anyone's guess. There they all are. And there's Pete. Yes. Very good. Oh, it looks like he's still gonna try to clean up the forest, but maybe not so much. Because after all, there's a lot of things in the forest we want to keep, right? And so, on that note, I found an old book in the library that's an oldie but goodie, and I thought maybe I'd read it too. And this one's called A Log's Life, and it's written by Wendy Pfeffer, and it's illustrated by Robin Brickman. And there it is. And I want you to help me with this one. There's lots of different animals and insects that I'm hoping that you can find in the book while I'm reading it. So you're going to have to make sure you're really observant. And I know a lot of you are very observant. So this book is actually also published by Simon & Schuster. So we're really thankful they let us read it again. There are a bunch of leaves. Does anyone know what kind of leaves those leaves are? Some of you might know. If you don't, we'll turn the page and we'll look and see what tree this is. Deep in a forest, a great oak tree stands. That's right, that was an oak leaf. A family of squirrels lives in a hole in its trunk. A porcupine chews on its branches. A colony of carpenter ants nests under the outer bark. Can you see the carpenter ants? I think some of you did. And a woodpecker pecks at the rough bark, searching for insects. He spears one, devours it, and hunts for more. Wood-burring beetles burrow under the bark, chewing wood and leaving tunnels. Water and air seep into the tunnels. Toadstools and other fungi such as mildew, molds, and mushrooms sprout in these damp places. Can you see some of those mildew and fungi? Yes. Slugs and snails crawl up the tree trunk into the tunnels and eat the fungi. Did you know they ate fungi? Do you see a slug? Do you see a snail? I hope so. Let's try the next pages. One stormy day, a strong wind whips through the forest, and the old oak tree bends with every gust. Rain pelts its branches, and wind tosses its leaves through the air. Lightning flashes and sizzles down its trunk. A thunderous crack startles the porcupine sleeping nearby, and the tall oak begins to topple. Squirrels feel the trembling and scramble out of their hole. One strong gust of blustery wind tears the great oak's roots from the ground, and the tree crashes down, shaking the forest floor. Branches break and limbs splinter and leaves scatter. See, can you see the squirrels? Whew. Now it's a giant log. Soon the storm stops and the sun comes out. An umbrella of leaves and tangled branches blocks the sunshine from the forest floor. The porcupine comes out of its den. Can you see the porcupine? Some of you did. Yes, right there. Squirrels scamper to see the old hole that was once their home. And under the log, ants rush about, carrying white bundles of babies. A spider crawls through cracks and crevices, searching for a dry spot to place her egg sac. Millipedes settle between the log and the wet ground, and for now they're safe from the spider. And termites soon discover the fallen log and move in. They not only eat the rotting wood, they lay their eggs there too. Can you see a millipede in that? Do you see termites? What about a spider? Do you see the spider with the egg? Yeah, all of those things right there is the spider. For 3 or 4 years, through hot, cold, wet, and dry seasons, ants, beetles, fungi, slugs, snails, spiders, millipedes, and termites live in the log. One winter, the porcupine's hollow log collapses. He moves into the oak log too. Let's keep going. The light always seems to turn off, but let's not stop. This is too good to stop. And in the spring, click beetles snap and click their bodies and flip high in the air before settling in the log. Salamanders, frightened by the noise and sudden movements, dart under the log for safety and stay. You see the salamander? Yeah, right there. Yes. Did you see all the click beetles? And in the summer, pill bugs and slugs crawl inside the cool, moist log to keep from drying out. Pill bugs eat dead leaves, and salamanders eat the pill bugs. Slugs slip out at night and eat almost anything. The old log provides both food and shelter for the millipedes. They eat decaying plants and trees, but spiders eat the millipedes. Can you find a spider in there? Can anyone find it? Some of you did. Yes, good. Good, good. Let's keep going. Several more years of hot, cold, wet, and dry seasons pass. Time, weather, and the chewing, pecking, boring, and tunneling of many animals and insects make the inside of the log spongy. The outer bark becomes a soft and damp, and gradually it falls into the ground. Can you see the log? Can you see? Does it look spongy? I think it does. Wood-bearing insects have no wood to bore. They find another log, and the woodpecker hunts for other trees to peck. Spiders spin their webs in drier spots, and the porcupine moves to a more solid log. Can you see the porcupine? Right. I'm not going to tell you because I think you probably saw it yourself. Slowly, A lush green blanket of moss carpets the rotting log. Its thick roots break down the wood, and over the next few years, the log crumbles. What is left looks like dirt. It feels like dirt. It smells like dirt. It is dirt. Earthworms move in. They turn the soil over just as a shovel does. They burrow down and break up the soil just as a rake does. In about 10 years, the rotting log has become a mound of rich black earth. Can you see the earthworms? Hopefully. How many earthworms do you see? I think I see 2. I don't know. One autumn day, an acorn falls from a nearby oak tree. A squirrel buries it in the rich soil. A seedling oak sprouts and grows until one day, deep in the forest, another green oak tree stands. Squirrels move in, and so do carpenter ants and beetles and woodpeckers. And the ants build nests, the beetles burrow, the woodpeckers peck. For years, life goes on in the old oak tree. Then one night, the wind whistles through the trees. The old oak bends and shakes. It crashes to the forest floor and becomes another giant log. My guess is you could start the whole story all over again if you started from the beginning of the book. I like that. There's a lot of things there that they didn't even talk about, like the orchids. Yeah, there were some orchids in the book. Did you see the orchids? Really beautiful. And I think they need decaying tree trunks and roots too. They don't like too much disturbance. So I hope you like those 2 books this week, and I hope you get a chance to walk out in the woods a little bit and find some of these things that we saw in the book. And with that, I think that we will see you next week for some more stories, and I hope you have a good week. There's all these books here waiting for you if you're interested. All right, bye-bye.